Welcome to Beachview. Hi, I'm Bob Maxson, President of California State University, Long Beach. My guest today is Dave O'Brien, Athletic Director at Cal State. Dave has been a dynamo in helping to lead our 49er teams in the forefront in national competition. He is a very good athletic director, and welcome to the show, Dave. And I might also tell our viewing audience that you're a lawyer by training. You have a law degree. How in the world did you get into athletics from the legal profession?
Well, it's probably a strange and contorted story, but it's really a combination of what I've always loved in life. I was a college athlete and always loved sports, loved the law and politics and education, and one of the things that I always tried to do was to combine my vocation with my avocation, and I've got the greatest job in America. Every lawyer in America would like to be an athletic director.
Yeah,
I guarantee
sure, David. A few athletic directors would probably like to be lawyers also. But
probably.
It's good to have you on the show, and tell our viewing audience a little bit, what does an athletic director do? What is the job of the AD at a major university? This is a national sports program in every sense of the word. You play coast to coast. Your teams are either winning national championships or they're in the hunt for a national championship. What's your job as an AD?
Well, I think my primary job as an athletic director is to provide the resources for our talented student athletes and coaches. And you spend an incredible amount of time trying to piece those resources together. And as you know, with state funding for education being reduced over the last number of years, I think that challenge has even gotten greater. And the funding sources come from many different places, whether it's pure fundraising with donors and people interested in sports or philanthropy, or whether it's working with student governments, trying to get them to support certain fees, which are in addition to tuition. There's quite a bit of different sources that you go to try to find the resources to put on the sports program. That's first and foremost. I think the second thing is really a level of supervision. Coaches and teams tend to be very autonomous, sometimes in their own world, which is a criticism we hear quite a bit. And I think it's a job of an athletic director to make sure that you're really a traffic cop. The coaches in their individual sports, the student athletes, are following a consistent philosophy espoused by, I think, the athletic director and the university, and to make sure that we keep that in line. So I think those are chief functions.
Monitoring all the complicated set of NCAA rules that we have to live by. You have a supervisory or monitoring responsibility for that.
It is. That's a big function as well. And as an attorney, I can tell you that when you go to the law library, every attorney gets a headache as you look at the various state statutes or federal regulations. Well, the NCAA manual puts them all to shame.
Yeah.
You need to be an attorney in some respects, I think, to be able to delve into the complex legislation and the rules that coaches and student athletes live under.
How many sports do we have, Dave?
We have 16 varsity sports. We
16 varsity sports.
Yeah, 8 men sports and 8 female sports. And we really have, I think, a nice combination of sports. One of the things that we've tried to do at Long Beach State is to participate in the sports which are indigenous to Southern California. And as we've tried to compose a sports profile here, I think the selection of sports really reflects the Southern California area.
A major part of your responsibility would be scheduling. I mean, what a complex responsibility to put together a schedule. You've got to watch your budget on one hand. On the other hand, you want to play a coast-to-coast schedule. If you're going to be a national power, you need to be able to play other national powers. And then, of course, coaches have their thoughts on who they ought to play, but all of that comes under your supervision. Is scheduling a tough job?
It certainly is. It's one of the things that before becoming athletic director in 1991, I don't think I had a full appreciation for the complexities. You have to balance your own interest, obviously, in being competitive on the court with, as you said, the budget. But then there's an additional element, and especially for an institution like Long Beach State, we're on the move, we're moving forward, we're climbing, if you will, the competitive ladder within the NCAA. And one of the consequences of that is that we need to be flexible and available for television opportunities. And that really throws a monkey wrench into the scheduling, because you need to preserve some flexibility. And we've really adopted an attitude here at Long Beach State as we try to move forward to become among the competitive elite in the country, and that is that we'll play anybody, anywhere, at any time on television.
All right. TV exposure is terribly important. Now, it's not that we get so many dollars from television, although we do get paid for television exposures, but it is the exposure that we're looking for, and it's not just the financial contract that you would have with the television.
That's right. The television has changed in the last number of years. It used to be if you got on television, you really had a gold mine.
It was a big payday.
It was a big payday. And
but that was when there weren't that many people on television.
That's right. And now with the proliferation of cable and with the number of stations that literally are available, it's really now a question of exposure. You're looking to expose your program to the talented high school student athletes that you're looking to recruit. Additionally, trying to do it for your alumni who are spread across the country so that you can make those connections,
right,
which help feed the university, and really is one of the main reasons I think universities have athletic programs, is to stay in contact with their alums, to give them something to follow. And so that's another important element of the television exposure.
Let's talk a little bit about, you said something that interests me. One of the main reasons we have sort of what's your philosophy on intercollegiate athletics? Do you see, and you've heard me say before, my personal view is that there's no conflict between good academics and good athletics. There's no inherent tension between good academics and good athletics. In fact, I've said many times the universities that I admire the most in the country excel at both. What's your philosophy on sports? What's the role of intercollegiate athletics within the university community?
Well, I'm a huge proponent of college athletics, high school athletics. I believe completely in the ideal of a student athlete. And as a young kid growing up in New Jersey, I can tell you that the person that I idolized was Bill Bradley. And I happened to be watching ESPN2 the other night, and Jim Rome had Senator Bill Bradley on his television show. And you know, it's not really a question of whether he's going to be president, it's a question of when is he going to be president.
Well, I was just going to say, he's been mentioned as a potential candidate for either president or vice president, and great student athlete.
Great student athlete. I can remember reading his book, A Sense of Where You Are, which was a wonderful book that talked about the value of academics and athletics before every one of my games to get charged up. But I think that formed, at least in me, this sense that a student athlete, the ideal of a student athlete, is something that we really need to strive for. I think that young people today, they need something to do. I think one of the most callous indifferences that I've recognized is when municipalities or states or universities turn their attention in difficult budget times to cutting recreational opportunities for young people. And as a kid who used to hang out at the street corner in the playground, I know that when they put the hoop up, instead of sitting there and throwing eggs at cars or doing something you shouldn't be doing, we began to shoot hoops. And that became a positive outlet. And it's the same in every playground and in every corner in America. And I think universities have a particular obligation to provide these opportunities for young people. And I just think that I feel that, believe it with all of my heart.
Well, you know, there's no question about the positive. We can look at all the success stories of the student athletes, the youngsters who have been through programs. And I don't know how many we would have here at the university, but my guess is maybe close to 300 student athletes of one type or the other. But as a president, I've always appreciated our sports programs, our athletic programs, for what it did for the university community, how the university community would rally behind it. And all you have to do is go to one sellout game at the Pyramid to see how it generates excitement in students. And I'm pleased to say that during those sellout games, most of the fans there are students, though we certainly have a lot of our boosters and our alums and our citizens who like to come out and enjoy 49er athletics. Game in and game out, most of the fans are students.
Absolutely. I think one of the best things that we've done in the last few years, in addition to building the Pyramid, obviously, was we had this wonderful marketing idea, and that was free tickets to students. And it's worked tremendously. And you know, for so long,
that made a genius out of you for getting students in, didn't it, Dave?
Yes, it certainly has made all of our marketing efforts a lot easier. But you know, that's why we're here. We're here to serve the students at Long Beach State. And from our standpoint, the idea of inviting the students to all of our games free of charge is an absolute necessary ingredient for our success. We believe that if we can get the students to come, they'll see athletics as an ally, as something that helps increase their enjoyment, if you will, of the total university experience. You'll learn not only in the classroom, but you'll learn on the hardwood courts of competition, as well as in the stands, just with camaraderie, and you need that break where you enjoy one another. So that's an important element of what we do.
Dave, I've often said, and I tell students, I meet with every new student coming to the university. In a given fall, like this fall, we'll probably have between 8,000 and 9,000 new students coming in. And I meet with them in groups of 200 and 300. And I tell those students that if all you learn at this university is what you learn in the classroom, you've not received the best possible education, that there's a lot of learning that takes place on this campus outside the classroom. Now, I certainly want them to learn in the classroom. And I think sports is part of that learning process, and it does help build a sense of community among the students. I might tell our viewers so they'll understand that part of the fees that students pay do go to help the sports programs, like they go to help the music programs, and like they go to help other programs on campus. And it's your foresight, and it was your initiative and your idea that since the students are helping pay for these programs, not to charge them again to get in. And I think it was a brilliant move on your part to get that support, but I also think it was the right thing to do. I think you did the just thing in that.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, we feel the same way, and you know, one of the things that we believe is that by getting the students into the Pyramid, by enhancing their experience, by enhancing and increasing attendance, the community members are going to want to attend.
Exactly.
There's nothing that excites community members more than reflecting back on their own youth, their enjoyment of college, and to see 5,000 people, many of them students, many of them wearing pyramid head hats, if you will. It gives us a chance to get the community involved, wanting to attend Long Beach State athletic events.
Dave, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Pyramid. The Pyramid is probably the most talked about building, and certainly in Long Beach, but maybe in Southern California, and you had a hand, and it was your steady hand that helped build that Pyramid. And I want to talk about the Pyramid a little bit when we come back. And we're going to take a break now, and we'll ask you to stay tuned, and we'll be back with Dave OBrien, Athletic Director at Cal State Long Beach.
Everyone has their own idea of a hero.
Magic Johnson.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mr. Neal.
My hero, Gloria Stefan.
Martin Luther King. Mr. Hope.
These are teachers, but to the kids they've reached, they're heroes. They've given them hope. They've given them choices. They've changed their lives.
Well, the children are the heroes.
The most fulfilling thing is watching a child succeed.
I just like to help them make their dreams come true.
Teachers have the power to wake up young minds, to be heroes, to make a difference. Reach for that power. Teach. If you want to make an impact on our future, call 1-800-45-TEACH.
Mr. Wilkins.
Mrs. Eisenhardt.
Mr. Adler.
Be a teacher. Be a hero.
Welcome back to Beachview. I'm Bob Maxson, president of Cal State Long Beach, and I have today as my guest Dave OBrien, athletic director of 49ers Sports at the university. Welcome back, Dave.
Thank you.
Dave, during the break, we were chatting a little bit about a philosophy that you have, or maybe sort of a model that you have, and you called it the 4 C's, and I thought that was fascinating. Why don't you share that with our viewers?
Well, we've tried to distinguish what we're doing from other athletic departments. And when you're faced with budget cuts, as we've been over the last few years, we believe very strongly that you have to identify to your supporter what it is that you're all about. And we developed a couple of themes to help guide us through the last number of years and set us on track, we think, for national success. And the first one was that we wanted to have a model called selective excellence. We couldn't be good in everything. We can't afford all sports. But what we choose to sponsor, we're going to be nationally successful in. And that's allowed us to target our sports, 16 sports, for either national, regional, or conference success. And I think that's been very successful. Other programs are beginning to model theirs after that approach. And then secondly, we came up with 4 goals, very succinct, concise goals for our athletic program. And we call those the 4 C's. And they are classroom success, community involvement, competitive excellence, and character development. And if we do those 4 C's the right way, we really believe that we're able to ask for and hopefully deserve 2 other C's, campus and community support. And we've been real proud that in the last few years, going through those very quickly, our student athletes graduate at a rate higher and at a pace quicker than non-student athletes at Long Beach State. So we think we're achieving our classroom success goal. Our student athletes have a community volunteer program called the Beach Buddies program, and it just won an award from JCPenney's as the Outstanding Community Service Program in Southern California. Our student athletes serve as mentors with young kids in the greater Long Beach area. Our third goal of competitive excellence, when you look at the 6 sports that we do target for national success, men's and women's basketball, men's and women's volleyball, baseball, and softball, and you look at our competitive record in those 6 sports over the last 5 years, you'll find we're second to none in the country. And then our fourth goal is character development. We believe if we do the first 3 C's right, we've got a pretty well-balanced individual.
Right.
And we also provide them with a life skills program to help them make that transition from college into the working world.
Dave, you've got a wonderful local reputation for student athletes working in the community, giving something back to the community, and now you're getting national recognition for that. My wife, who is a great sports fan, has been very active working with some of the student athletes, and she tells me that they've been in the schools reading to students and being mentors, and not just in our high-profile sports programs, but all the sports programs are participating in this. And I just get this type of feedback everywhere I go. I see evidence of our student athletes working to give something back to the community. And of course, I think that obviously happens because we've got an athletic director and a coaching staff who believe that this is important.
Well, we happened to bump into your wife the other day down at Lincoln Elementary School, where Bill Schumard, Bill Usack, myself, Seth Greenberg, and various student athletes happened to be down there for a reading program.
Yeah.
And your wife, Dr. Sylvia Maxson, was joining us as well and reading to the young people. We've seen the future, and the future's young people. And we believe morally and ethically we have an obligation to set an example, to do it right, achieve both on the courts and most importantly in the classroom, but also provide access, become mentors to so many of the young people in this greater Long Beach area who need some guidance. They need to see that the future is out there, that if they strive, they work hard, maybe they can be at a university, maybe on an athletic team at some point in their future as well.
Let's shift gears a minute. What's the pyramid meant to you?
Pyramid has meant everything. And I can remember as someone who worked in the administration in 89 and 90 when the pyramid was still just a little plan in somebody's head. I can remember the day somebody walked in and said that they had accomplished the goal that the then President Curtis McRae had given them, which was build a facility that by day could be a PE facility and by night could be an arena, and you only have $11 million at the time to do it. And they came back with the idea of a pyramid and seats that, in his description at the time, would be like a seesaw. And being recently from New Jersey then, I looked at him and I looked at our other vice president at the time, Bill Griffith, and we both wondered what in the world is in the water and air in California. And here we are, on November 30th, 1994, and I can tell you it was the greatest professional accomplishment of my life, and I think that it forever changed Long Beach State as a university when we opened up that pyramid against the University of Detroit.
Now that was November, that was...
November 30th, 1994.
Oh, that's right. That was the day we opened the pyramid against the University of Detroit.
On ESPN. And
yeah.
We had 5,000 rabid fans. We had our laser show, and it was for the first time for I think many of us a sense that we had become a university. And so the pyramid has meant everything from a community standpoint, but it's also allowed us to get games on ESPN on a regular basis now, which helps us climb this competitive ladder that we need to climb. And as Seth Greenberg has said, it's allowed us to get into blue chip recruits' living rooms that we've never been in before. And so it's meant everything to our program.
Dave, I know it's always dangerous when you start singling out sports because we've got 16 sports and you've got coaches that want to be a part of that warm, nurturing environment that you provide for them over there. But take a look at next season. What do you see coming up this next season?
Well, without trying to put too much pressure on us, on our coaches, I think the first thing that I see is the next step for Long Beach State is to improve our schedules. In the last couple of years, we've gone from facility poor to facility rich. The next thing that we have to do now, and the facilities now allow us to do that, is to take our schedule to the next level, to begin to schedule and compete against the best in the country. They'll now come.
If you want in the national rankings, I mean, you can't complain about not being in the top 20 if you don't play top 20 teams, can you?
Absolutely. And that's what we've tried to do in men's baseball. And this past year, which because of our move to Blair Field, a beautiful facility for our baseball program.
Probably maybe the best college baseball facility in the country. Certainly one of a handful of the best.
We absolutely believe that. And that's allowed us to schedule last year. We believed we played the best schedule baseball-wise in America. And the result was that we went to the NCAA tournament, and despite having a record of 39-25 at the time, which was not as good perhaps as some of the other schools, but they recognized the difficulty of our schedule, and we almost made it to the World Series. USC had to take us to the last game before getting there. And now we're going to be doing that with all of our programs. Our men's basketball schedule is much improved.
I've heard Coach Seth Greenberg moaning and groaning about the men's basketball schedule. Apparently it's a very tough schedule. I guess one of the, probably the toughest schedule of any conference team will be playing, but one of the country's toughest schedules.
That's absolutely right. You know, last year, we've tried to do this in a gradual way. Last year, a great year by Seth and by our men's basketball team, we played the 25th toughest non-conference schedule in America. Well,
that was last year.
That was last year. This coming year, given our non-conference schedule, which includes Arizona, Miami of Ohio, Nebraska, Detroit, perhaps Rutgers, St. Mary's, we have an outstanding George Mason, Paul Westhead's running team from Virginia will be coming out to the Pyramid. We think that schedule, non-conference schedule, is among the top 12 non-conference schedules in America. And so we're doing the same thing with Brian Gimolaro and the women's volleyball team. They've always played the best, but now with the Pyramid, more of the better teams will come and play us. And so I think that's probably the most important thing that we do next year, take that next step from strength of schedule standpoint.
You got a new women's basketball coach.
We certainly do. And everybody who has met Dallas Boychuk, I think, walks away and says, we've got a winner. Dallas, as many of our viewers know, Seth Greenberg is probably among the best in the nation in terms of external relation skills, whether it's on TV, radio, or in front of groups. And he's a very outgoing personality. And Dallas Boychuk makes him look like an introvert. Dallas has just tremendous people skills. She's a saleswoman first and foremost, an educator second, and she happened to be the best recruiter in America over the last 3 years from Purdue, where she was the lead assistant. Their recruiting classes were ranked 5th, 3rd, and 1st this year, and if we had moved a little quicker, we might have had the best player in America sign with us, because the best player in America, she recruited for Purdue a week before and had signed with Purdue a week before we were able to hire her away. But we're really excited about what Dallas is going to do. I think we're going to be able to get back to where we had been, which was the best women's basketball program in America.
Let me ask you a question, David, and I don't know the answer to this. I have some hunches about it, but I don't know the answer to it. You have, and this is always dangerous again when you start naming a few coaches, and you really have a wonderful crew over there. Your whole lineup looks like they're all Americans as far as coaches go. But you have everyone in the country seemed like they were after your men's baseball coach last year, Dave Snow, an outstanding coach, and of course everyone knows in our viewing area that Coach Greenberg was recruited heavily by some major universities. You've got men and women's volleyball coaches, both have won national championships at this school. And you've got some other blue chip coaches like this that are heavily recruited. Now, I know as president that you don't have the budget and the ability to pay big time coaches what some of these universities were offering these coaches if they would make the move.
That's right.
How in the world did you keep them here?
Well, I think it's a complex answer, I think. I guess first and foremost, the kind of offers that these coaches turned down were from Pac-10 schools. And so...
And I might say for our viewing public, in some cases, literally would have doubled their salaries.
Absolutely. And I don't think there's ever been a case before in our history where coaches have turned down Pac-10 schools to stay at Long Beach State. And what that says to me, first and foremost, is that they see the vision of what we can become, what we are in the process of becoming. When we went from facility poor to facility rich in a bootstrap manner, with really, I think, guts and courage and foresight from the whole university administration, they recognize that effort. And if we've been able to accomplish all that we've accomplished without facilities, I think the coaches are starting to scratch their head and say, imagine what we can do now with facilities. But we've been able also, and honestly, to say, if our ambitions are to be among the best in the nation, our salary and compensation has to be heading in that direction. And we've been more aggressive with our coaches' compensation, and that has helped. But I think that they're buying into the vision of what Long Beach State can become.
Well, and I think you're being very modest. I think they're also recognizing good leadership in the athletic department, and you are a good athletic director, Dave, and we appreciate having you on this show. We appreciate you joining us on Beachview. I'd like to give a special word of thanks to the head of Cal State Long Beach Television, Mr. Matt Kaplan, and my assistant, Tony Barone. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week on Beachview.